This is part 8 of our haul out and progress report so far. I own a 2013 38 foot Island Spirit catamaran, and currently we are on the hard at Reback Island. Here's an image of Reback Island, and here's a photograph of Reback Island, and up in the top middle you'll see the hard stand area and the marinas below that. It's been a long time since my last confession, and that work has progressed a bit quicker since my back has healed. Because I'm in the earlier stages of epoxying, I've used Kosan 90 parts A and B, which is a lot cheaper than West Systems or some of the other top names. I've had some pleasant breaks with little projects during this time, and I've cut some 20mm plexiglass lengths so that I can use them on trying to stop the water leaks in the front hatches. And here's a shot of just a rough clean up and to making them not so sharp and easier to manage. Here's my failed attempt at fixing my own fly wire screens. I'll try it again with something more substantial. I also found on the rubbish heap some nice teak wood, and I've epoxied over them. I'm going to use them as a base for the solar panels. And here's a long shot of both projects. I've also finished the initial installation of the storm waterproofing walls so that the weather doesn't get into the lounge area and the galley area, because we're an open living boat. So I've done both port and starboard sides. After some heavy rains, I found that there's still moisture in both transoms actually, and I'm using a pressure hose to show you that more water's coming out of the bottom hole where I've been sticking the wet and dry vacuum cleaner in to suck out the moisture. So for weeks I've been drying it out, and a couple of rainstorms and I've got the same amount of water in again. So here's a video of the same problem. The storm water filled up the transoms again, and here's a shot of the amount of water that was coming out. So I've decided to fill all the holes with epoxy and try to find where the leak is from the upper deck. This is all filler, and that hasn't set right. It's full of smelly water. It's been 8 weeks and it just needs to be cut right out. I've used old material to try to repair the large soft hole that was in there. The original damage was filled with epoxy. Unfortunately, the seawater got to it early and it made it soft and spongy for the rest of its life, so it had to be cut out, and it was a bigger piece to cut out than I originally thought. So that's a piece of foam in there, then spray foam and epoxy to seal off the different sections of the hole in the upper deck and the side, and then a honeycomb plate put in place and epoxied in place, and I'll just tidy it up with more epoxy and then sand it off, and then it'll be ready for the Divinycell foam core board. It's taken me ages to track down the appropriate sandwich core, and trying to figure out what density and how much I need, and it's been suggested by other people that these are the two products that I should get, but unfortunately I looked all over Langkawi, couldn't find it. I ended up buying 2 pieces of this flexible Divinycell, which will do the job, and So this is the Davini Cell 30mm sandwich core, if you call it sandwich, and it can be moulded to shape and then cut with a Stanley knife, which is easy to work with. So the transoms will be done in that, and hopefully I can get the steps and the two angles on the transom all in one piece. This is the starboard bow. I've put on some mat and epoxy to reinforce the pointy end, technical word, so that in the future less impact damage will occur, or it'll reduce the damage. So again, on the port bow, still got to sand it off. Likewise with the bow, I've put another coat of epoxy and another sheet of mat over it on both the port and starboard bows. Of course, the idea is to give it a little bit more strength and protection for next time somebody runs into something. This area was damaged. Somebody ran into something and they'd fiberglassed this area here and this area here. And there was big lumps of unfinished fiberglass, so I smoothed it off with the grinder and then sanded it off, and then put two coats of mat and fiberglass over the top, and now I'll finish it off with some sanding ready for the hull to be painted. Because I had a number of problems with both keels, I paid a little bit more attention to repairing things, and here's an area that had to be filled significantly, and then this rectangular hole in the keel that I've already spoken about on previous videos, and fiberglassed in the holes that I drilled to suck out the water from the keels down to 0% of moisture, which I'm happy with, and then I've mat fiberglass and epoxied both bottoms of the keels, and up at the front nose of the keels I also put in mat and epoxy to strengthen it and cover up the work that I've already done. I'm still not quite happy with the join between the keel and the upper deck, because of the skirt was a rectangular shape, and I've been sanding it off to give it a more round finish. And also there was a fair amount of damage on the hull just above the keels, so I've been working on that and grinding it out and filling it up. I'm still worried about that white line around where the keel is in two parts. I don't know why it was built with that. So there's the front damage on the starboard side pointy end of the keel. I've put on epoxy between the 90-degree angle or 45-degree angle between the hull and the upper deck, right around both keels, and hopefully once I sand it off I'll be able to put a second coat on to neaten it up and make it nice and smooth, and get ready for painting. Here you can see how I've epoxied and sanded and ground away the rectangular skirting edge and made it more round and curvy in the area that joins the keel and the hull. And this is the starboard side in a similar way, and you can see it's much more neat and tidy. So the video was produced by myself, and it's the end of another exciting video of our part 8 of our haul out progress report so far.